In the distance, the lights of the American skyline still shine like a symbol of victory. Skyscrapers reflect the sunset, as if progress were eternal, and the glittering avenues continue to pulse into the night, selling the image of a country that never stops growing. But behind this luminous showcase, something profound is breaking down, an unsettling silence, invisible to the eye and absent from the headlines. The same streets that once represented prosperity now reveal a collective exhaustion, a feeling that the American dream has lost its meaning. The camera, as it zooms in, reveals what marketing hides: cars converted into homes, entire abandoned neighborhoods, and workers who, even with 2 jobs, can no longer afford rent. The country that promised abundance to all now sustains itself on the illusion of stability, an illusion maintained by force through credit cards, loans, and endless workdays. There is food on the shelves, but hunger in homes. There is progress in the reports, but despair in the silenced voices of the streets. America still shines, but its brilliance is that of a dying star, intense on the outside, hollow on the inside. The economy grows, but the citizen shrinks. The system breathes, but the soul of the country agonizes. And while the news celebrates records and advancements, a question begins to echo beneath the noise of the cities. What is really happening to the heart of the most powerful nation on the planet? The next minute of this video reveals the first visible signs of this collapse, which is already spreading before our very eyes. If you want to understand what's behind this facade of prosperity and discover the real signs of the collapse that is already beginning to reveal itself, subscribe to the channel now and follow this investigation to the end. What you will see here completely changes the way the world views the geography of power in the United States. In aerial photographs, American metropolises still seem alive, a pulsating organism that refuses to admit it is ailing. But just a few meters down across the neon avenues and walking among the residential buildings reveals that something profound is deteriorating. The facades remain clean, the billboards still colorful, but what you see in people's eyes is a lack of direction. Routine has been reduced to a mechanical cycle of survival, where each paycheck seems to evaporate before it is even received. The middle class, once the country's mainstay, is slowly disappearing like an endangered species. Entire families who once celebrated comfort now live in the uncertainty of imminent eviction. Corner shops are closing, one by one, replaced by empty buildings and rental signs that no one can afford. The large shopping malls, symbols of consumption and power, have become silent corridors, where only the distant sound of footsteps echoes, those who still insist on pretending that nothing has changed. Meanwhile, official statistics speak of stability, but the increase is visible in the lines at food banks. Shelters are overcrowded. The streets are transformed into makeshift dormitories, and the nighttime glow of the cities, so admired in films and photographs, reveals itself as a mirage, forcibly sustained by unpayable debts, and a collective belief that tomorrow will once again be promising. In the suburbs, there is a silence that is not one of peace, but of resignation. In the city centers, there is aimless haste, movement without destination. America continues to function, but like a creaking machine, hiding the noise of its own flaws. And while official cameras avoid filming, reality insists on exposing itself, raw, disguised, and inevitable. What the viewer is seeing now may seem like the end of an era, or perhaps just the beginning of something much darker. Do you still believe these cities are alive? Or is all this just a reflection of a country in a coma? Leave your opinion in the comments below. Behind the apparent chaos of American cities lies a silent machine, built to keep turning even when everything around it begins to crumble. Urban collapse was not born by chance, but from the precise sum of decisions that, for decades, fueled an illusion that progress would be infinite, that growth would have no cost. The economic system, disguised as freedom, began to dictate every gesture of modern life, transforming time into currency, credit into oxygen, and consumption into identity. Banks, corporations, and investment funds have shaped American daily life in an almost invisible way. They promised prosperity, but delivered dependency. They encouraged mass indebtedness, turned the dream of home ownership into a trap, and the ideal of success into a race without a finish line. Millions today live under a model that demands more than it can give back, a system that consumes people with the same coldness with which it consumes natural resources. The media, complicit and beneficiary, sold optimism as an anesthetic. Each headline extolling market records concealed the price paid by exhausted workers and families in emotional collapse. The belief in the American dream survived, but only as a showcase, a narrative repeated ad nauseum to keep the gears turning. Progress now is a commodity controlled by a few and financed by the hope of those who have no choice. Beneath this invisible structure, a collective fear of inevitable bankruptcy grows. And while economic indicators continue to smile in the news, the real signs of decay spread across sidewalks, supermarkets, and in people's eyes. What is underway may not be a crisis, but a transition, the metamorphosis of an empire that can no longer sustain its own image. And if all of this seems too planned to be a coincidence, it's perhaps because it is. There's something behind the apparent imbalance, something that acts in the shadows and feeds on itself. But the consequences of this system are not limited to the economy. They are about to strike at the very backbone of American life. The gears that propelled the nation for over a century now spin aimlessly, like an engine spinning without direction. What was once a symbol of industrial strength and prosperity has become a series of ruins disguised as progress. Cities like Detroit, Cleveland, and St. Louis, once pillars of work and innovation, now resemble emptied bodies whose arteries, factories, schools, shopping centers pump nothing but memories. Abandoned houses multiply, warehouses become monuments to oblivion, and avenues that once heralded the future now stretch like corridors to nowhere. Social inequality grows silently, like an underground crack threatening the entire foundation. While some continue to accumulate wealth and influence, millions of others disappear from the statistics, not because they have risen, but simply because they have ceased to exist within the system. Stable employment has become the exception, the cost of living a labyrinth without an exit. Money no longer circulates among people, but among algorithms, and the feeling of belonging gives way to apathy. The effects are not only economic, but spiritual. Silent despair has become part of everyday life. In large cities, the number of people living on the margins between shelters and overpasses is growing. In the suburbs, mortgaged houses and families who have lost everything are multiplying, not through individual error, but because they are trapped in a structure that demands more than it gives back. The country that exported optimism now imports despair. And what's most frightening isn't the collapse itself, but the fact that it has become normalized. The sirens sound less, not because there are fewer emergencies, but because people have stopped calling for help. The ruin has become part of the landscape. If all this is already happening before our eyes, what else needs to crumble for the world to finally realize that the empire has begun to collapse? Leave your opinion in the comments below. What money couldn't buy was meaning. American modernity, built on the promise of freedom and abundance, has transformed into a scene of collective isolation. In the metropolises, the silence of the early mornings reveals a loneliness that the lights cannot disguise. Luxurious apartments house people who no longer know each other, neighbors who have never exchanged a word, families who share the same roof but not the same presence. Technology, once a symbol of connection, has become the filter that separates individuals from themselves, creating a multitude of lonely profiles amidst hypercommunication. The emptiness is not just emotional, it's also spiritual. People have learned to measure their worth in likes, in numbers, in appearances. And the more they accumulate, the more they perceive the absence of something nameless. The society that produced everything visible has lost control over the invisible. And it is in this space between consumption and silence that a new form of poverty flourishes, the poverty of meaning. America now is no longer a country, but a fragmented mirror of lives rushing to nowhere. Work has ceased to be a vocation and has become survival. Faith has been replaced by algorithms. Coexistence has given way to comparison. Every screen, every shop window, every advertisement reinforces the same message, that something is missing and that this emptiness can be bought. But there's a question that echoes in the subtext of this. Fast-paced daily life. What remains when the illusion of progress can no longer bear the weight of one's own exhaustion? And for those who still believe that all this is just an impression, the hidden numbers tell a story that no amount of propaganda can silence. The cold, hard story of a country that has already collapsed. Behind the narrative of prosperity, the numbers tell a very different story, one that rarely makes headlines. 6 out of 10 Americans live in debt beyond their means. More than 38 million regularly rely on food banks to survive. In major cities, the average cost of rent exceeds 70% of the monthly income of an average worker. And even among those with formal jobs, nearly half admit to having no savings for basic emergencies. The supposed land of opportunity has quietly become a minefield of broken promises. Official statistics still speak of growth, but they omit what is growing in parallel: despair. The number of homeless people has increased by more than 30% in 5 years. In several cities, public schools are facing record dropout rates, while overwhelmed hospitals treat the symptoms of an illness that is not just economic, it is existential. The rate of depression and anxiety among young workers is reaching unprecedented levels, and the suicide rate in urban areas has doubled in less than a decade. The prosperity measured by charts and reports hides a poverty of another nature, one that is not counted in dollars, but in silence. These are data that reveal an internal collapse, a constant erosion of what was once considered unshakable. The system continues to move, but it no longer advances. It merely repeats itself, like a cog turning on its own emptiness. And when the statistics become more tragic than the predictions, it's a sign that something profound has broken. The empire born from excess is now beginning to be devoured by its own reflection. And what's to come may be more frightening than any previous financial crisis. Because the real danger may not even have begun yet, and what's coming is a type of collapse that no economy is capable of containing. What today seems like a slow erosion could, in a short time, become an irreversible collapse. The structures that support the American economy are beginning to show signs of exhaustion, not only in the indicators, but in collective behavior. The streets, once full of ambition and haste, now carry a chronic weariness, as if hope itself had been mortgaged. The advance of automation is replacing jobs at an accelerated pace, and the future that once promised efficiency now threatens to render human beings useless. The society that taught the world how to work is discovering, with astonishment, that perhaps there is no longer enough work for everyone. Corporations thrive, but people fade away. Consumption continues, but it no longer satisfies. Silence, once synonymous with rest, now sounds like abandonment. Entire cities shine on the outside and rot. On the inside, fueled by a collective illusion of stability. Technology, which should liberate, imprisons in invisible routines, transforming each citizen into data, each thought into a product. Collapse doesn't arrive with explosions or revolts, but with a gradual emptying, an emotional extinction disguised as progress. The approaching tomorrow has no face. It is a time when man can be replaced by his own creation, where efficiency surpasses empathy, and where life is measured in productivity. If the present already seems like a collapse, the future will be the amplified echo of that same silence. And it is precisely this silence that is most frightening, because it doesn't announce the end, but its acceptance. The lights remain on, the news remains optimistic, and the world keeps turning, but something essential is disappearing. And when the light finally fades, only one question will remain. What is truly left of the dream that once promised to illuminate the world? As the city lights go out one by one, the American landscape takes on the exact tone of its time, cold, artificial, and profoundly melancholic. From above, the metropolises seem like tired constellations, shimmering in the dark only to remind us that they still exist, not by force but by habit. The country that once symbolized the hope of the West now reveals itself as a mirror of human contradictions, prosperous yet empty, illuminated yet blind, connected, yet alone. The ruin did not come in the form of war or catastrophe, but as a slow and silent slide. It began when work lost its meaning, when money ceased to bring security, and when progress began to cost one's very soul. Collapse is no longer a distant possibility. It is underway, discreet, daily, inevitable. Each new skyscraper that rises symbolizes less the triumph of man and more the desperation to disguise his decay. And deep down, perhaps this is the truth no one wants to face. America is not only failing financially, but emotionally. What is? Running out is not wealth, but belief in tomorrow itself. Between flickering lights and sleeping avenues, the empire that promised freedom now rests under the weight of its own promises. The sound that echoes is not that of the fall, but that of indifference. The constant noise of a civilization that continues to produce, consume, and forget. The collapse doesn't begin when everything ends. It begins when everyone stops feeling. If you also feel that there is something wrong with the modern world, subscribe. Here we seek to see what the glitter tries to hide, because sometimes the truth is not in the blinding lights, but in the darkness that insists on revealing what no one else wants to see.